That's right, we actually have Koitsu, Aitsu, and the rest of the paper squad. We actually have Super Heavy Samurai out of the YCS, and just a whole bunch of other interesting little decks for this metagame. I'm big 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out more on this content. I didn't think I'd ever see Aitsu, Doitsu, Koitsu, and the rest of the paper squad here, but I don't know what the context of this tournament was, but they did end up doing well. Doitsu here, once per turn, you can equip this card to a Soitsu or unequip it in face-up attack position, and the equipped monster gets 2,500 attack points. And then, of course, you only have a monster equipped with one union monster at a time. Equipped monster be destroyed by battle. Destroy this card instead. Mr. Koitsu here. Once per turn, you can equip, unequip, gains 3,000 attack. And so it's 3 Koitsu, 3 copies of Doitsu here. Triple Space Rock, and then we have triple Aitsu, and triple copies of Soitsu. Triple copies of Ancient Rules to Special Summon. 1 Called by the Grave, triple Dark Factory Mass Production, 1 copy Foolish Bro, triple copies of Frontline, 1 copy of Monster Reborn, triple copies of Pot of Prosperity for filtering, triple copies of Unexpected Die, 1 copy of Upstart Goblin, triple copies of Formation Union. Activate one of these effects. So you're going to target an or an unequip, so equip, unequip. We have triple copies of Roll Hill. Target a Union monster in your graveyard and equip it to an appropriate monster you control as a Union monster's effect. Then the extra deck down here is all just complete meme. Triple Zombie Warrior, triple Zark, triple Sea Monster Theseus, triple Ojama Knight, and triple copies of the Ojama King here, wrapping up this list. Once again, fundamentally, it's all going to come down to these 2 monsters here getting the chance to get equips. And Koitsu also gives some trample damage here. Actually, not every time do you see this stuff in terms of value, but I'll take it. I still don't know what kind of tournament that this was, what really made them decide that this was the day to dust off these cards, but good stuff. Next up here, we have the Super Heavy Samurai deck that actually was taking place during the feature match. For those of you that paid attention to YCS London, there was a feature match that occurred where we actually got to see Super Heavy Samurai take to the stage. And I know a lot of people were very like, really? Super Heavy Samurai ended up winning? Yeah, evidently Goki ended up winning a feature match too out of London. So a lot of very interesting things kind of happening on the back burner here. Do keep in mind that Super Heavy Samurai is going to be getting way more support here in the near future. This should just be enough to, get you excited for the next month or so here to let it actually happen. So we have 1 copy of Ancient Gearbox, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring with 2 copies of Asa. We have 1 copy of the Awakening Possessed Nefarious Archfiend, 1 copy of Infinitrack Tunneler with triple copies of Gamma. We have 1 copy of the Express Train Bullet Train. We have 1 Big Benki, triple copies of the Scales with triple copies of the Soulbreaker Armor, 1 copy of the Super Heavy Samurai Soul Claw, 1 Soul Horns with 1 Soul Peacemaker. We have triple copies of the good old Soul Piercer, 1 Teleporter with triple copies of the Wagon, 1 copy of Regulus. Then, of course, we got triple copies of the Awakening Forest, 2 copies of Flourishing Hills, 1 Flowering Fields, 2 copies of Misting Seedlings, 1 Thawing Mountains, and 1 Driver. Then we have 1 Underworld Goddess, 2 copies of the Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow, 2 copies of Saruja, 1 Relinquished Anima, 1 Lambda with 1 Unicorn, 1 Ember Cerberus, 1 Transverser, 1 Apo, 1 Ballista with 1 Access Code, 1 Baguski, and 1 River Stormer. Then we have 2 copies of the Archfiend Eccentric, 2 copies of Lancia, 1 Pankratops, 2 Droll Knockbird, 1 Godarla, 1 Gamma Seal, 2 copies of Garuda, 2 copies of the Space Rock, and 2 copies of Zaphion the Time Lord here, wrapping up fundamentally some of the more interesting stuff out here for Super Heavy Samurai. Good stuff. Next up here, we have Phantom Knights. Look at me. Look at me. You Phantom Knight players out here, you have struggled so long to try to put something on the map. Now, this isn't a huge success, don't get me wrong, but the fact that this deck can actually do something right now is quite amazing. Also, Ophion here being a toggle option to laugh at your opponent is incredible. I mean, a free rank up magic launch into this is just kind of free real estate against Cashier because they can't actually special summon. That's all it is. Just you deploy, you level up, your opponent's like, What am I supposed to do about that? And you're just like, nothing. That is everything. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have one copy of Tsuchinoko. Triple copies of Droll and Lockbird with one copy of Tracker. We have one Wielder with 2 copies of Ancient Cloak. We have one copy of Ragged Gloves with triple copies of Silent Boots. We have one Stained Greaves with triple copies of Torn Scales. We have one Griffin Rider with triple copies of Water Enchantress. One Good Old Call by the Grip. One Dracoback with 2 Emergency Teleport. Your one Faithful Adventure with your one Foolish Brill. We have one Rhoda with triple copies of Rite of Armesier. We have one Rank Up Magic's Launch, triple copies of Infinite Permanence, and triple copies of Fogblade. And then, of course, we have the one Underworld Goddess, 2 copies of Rusty Bardiche, one Unicorn with one Cerberus, one Dahark with one Cherubini, one Apple with one Axis Code, one Time Thief Redoer, 2 Breaksword, one copy of Leviair, one Ophion, and one Evil Swarm Nightmare. Then we have triple copies of Nibiru, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone with one Harpy's Feather Duster, triple Lightning Storm, triple copies of Anti-Scam Fragrance, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment here. Wrapping up a very, very basic and very, very straightforward variation to this deck. All real things considered, everything flows out really well. I have no real complaints seeing that this deck actually is working. Next up here, we have more Ninja. Now, full disclaimer here for everything that we've seen about Ninja in the current format. Mitsu, just being the amazing negate that it is good. Of course, this card right here is going to be a very big equalizing option that gives Ninja the chance to kind of keep up if they're playing behind. Do not underestimate, yet again, what ends up happening out here when this deck kind of gets into a little bit more of a grind game, because you set up the evenly matched, you blow your opponent out, and then you proceed to start setting up Ninja combo. I feel like that's a lot of what we're seeing with a lot of these generic builds out here. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, one copy of Baku, triple copies of Effect Veiler with the one green ninja. We have 2 copies of Geo the Gravity Ninja with your one Kagura, triple copies of Mitsu. We got 2 copies of Space Rock with your triple copies of Grandmaster Hanzo, triple copies of Tobari with one Lonely Instant Fusion. We got triple copies of the Art Book of Mystery with one copy of the stupid equip we have to play. Triple copies of Pot of Prosperity with one Rhoda. Triple copies of Unfun. Triple copies of Infinite Permanence. 2 copies of Dancing Leaves. And 1 Duplication. Then we have 2 copies of Saizo. 1 Number Unicorn with 1 Cross Sheep. 1 Axis Machine. 1 Gigantic Sprite. 1 copy of Zeus. 1 Blade Armor Ninja. Triple copies of Yogamari. 1 copy of the Ultimate Great Insect. And triple copies of Maizen, the Battle Ninja. Then we have 2 copies of Artifact Lancia, 1 Space Rock, triple Gamma, 1 Driver, triple Dark World No More, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment here. Wrapping up, well, some ninjutsu shenanigans. Very interesting to see Duplication's been reduced to 1, and Green Ninja also seeing 1 up play. So many people have yelled at me and told me that you need to play multiples of these, but the way it looks here, this list opted to not even have to play the extreme numbers. Last list we have for you here is a purely list. This list ended up, saw a little bit of play at the Houston Regional. Duel stepped up to try to play the deck. Now, full disclaimer here, once again, you have Evenly Matched here being one of your cards that's going to try to push this deck to even stats. But I think it's really cute to see that Cyberstorm Access out here, we're messing around with the concept of Pureleys and how we can try to make this deck work. Obviously, Nor's still going to be a very, very big catalyst to what this deck can do at the end of the day. So, kind of keep that in mind. So we have triple copies of just the basic Purely. We have 1 Cobalt Eagle with 2 copies of Nimble Angler. We have triple copies of Nimble Beaver. We have 2 copies of Purely Street with triple copies of Pretty Memory. We have triple copies of Delicious Memory, triple copies of Happy Memory, and triple copies of My Friend Purely. Then we have triple copies of Pot of Prosperity, triple copies of Your Dark World No More, triple copies of Book of Eclipse, triple copies of Evenly Matched, triple copies of Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, and 2 copies of Purely Leap. Extra deck, we got the 1 Underworld Goddess, 1 Donner, 1 Sprint, with 1 Anima, 2 copies of the Zeus Machine, 2 Nor, 1 Downward, 1 Happiness, 1 Beauty, 2 copies of Plump, 1 Ensemble Ramen, and 1 copy of the Lyrilisk Assembled Nightingale here. wrapping up your chunk of deck profile goodies for this video. So my question is there anything from here that you want to test? Out of all these cool ideas, some of these are going to undergo evolution here in the next couple weeks, but I think it's always good to see what they're thinking. So please, comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.